We have a very special guest with us here today. I would do the introduction, but I think she'll do a way better job than me. So,
Okay, well, my name is RIMIDI. I am a music artist, educator, composer. I'm a mom of two young adult women, and I am also the founder of Gem Culture, GEM Culture, where we empower girls who power the world. Essentially, I'm a spirit. I wear a lot of hats, I have a lot of gifts, I have a lot of skills, but ultimately, I'm just here having fun and being who I can be, who I came here to be, actually.
that's what's up. So listen, you're also an artist.
I am
You
a music.
basically do a lot of different things. You know what I mean? So why don't you just tap into us? Just tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you do. I don't want to introduce you to the world until you're ready to get introduced to the world, and I think you are because I was
Okay.
listening to your music, and I'm like, man, your music is like really, really, powerful, and it has a lot of messages on there. So tell me about the new single, and I know you have a song that's called Bruce Banner. So tell me a little bit about Bruce Banner and why is it called Bruce Banner?
I don't like telling the story behind why it's called Bruce Banner just yet. Uh, I'll tell it one day. Right now, though, that's undisclosed information.
Okay, okay, okay.
But yes, I am a music artist. It's so funny because that used to be the first thing I say, but I have since transitioned. I've expanded, I've grown, I've evolved. So that's funny because it's not always like the first thing on my mind when I think about myself. But essentially, yes, I'm a music performing artist, and I have been making music since I came here. And the single Bruce Banner is actually a part of an album I'm getting ready to release. And that album is called Juno, the Late Bloomer. I like saying Juno. But it's called Juno, the Late Bloomer. And Bruce Banner, I love Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner is so crazy because we did Bruce Banner about 5 years ago.
Really?
5 years ago, and the timing of Bruce Banner is so it's so surreal. I have a song on that album too called Surreal, but that whole album in itself is a very surreal album. And why do I call it surreal? It's like it has its own. It's moving on its own. It's doing its own thing. I tried to release this album before,
Right,
and it,
right.
it, it just wasn't working. The timing, it wasn't happening. But now it seems like the time is now. So Bruce Banner is just all about where do we go from here? What's our next move as an individual and as a people? What's our next move? And a lot of times there's so, especially right now, there's so many things going on. It's like you're waiting, like, yo, God, like, what do I do? Like, do I be still? You know what I'm saying? Do I be still? Do
Right,
I
right, right.
do I just go forward? Like, what am I supposed to be doing right now with all this craziness going on? And at the time when we wrote this, well, Bruce Banner came around like pandemic time too, so it's just so fitting, this album, and the way it speaks to the times.
Right, right, right. So, what inspired you to do this type of music? Like, where do you get that from?
What do I get this from? My personal music, when I write for myself, it's a lot of times it's God. Like, I'm just channeling. I don't really have a lot of control. I just kind of listen to what the music is telling me to do, and then I just follow it. And it's really a matter. It's a real surrender process. Like, I just surrender to what the music is asking of me, and then I deliver. So that's how I mean. Like, if I'm writing for someone else, it's a thought process. I'm thinking, I'm coming up
Right,
with, like,
right, right.
a
Yeah,
theme. But like,
yeah.
for me, my music reflects life. Like art reflect life, right? My music imitates life. So I'm just more just being a channel when I create.
All right, that's what's up. So, we got Jay Hector also in the building, man.
What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's happening?
All right. So you go ahead and tell us tell us about yourself, man.
I'm a musician, a music, radio, and television producer.
It's just you.
Yeah, I'm not that's about it. I'm a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He's just a goddamn cool guy. And that's why he's in my arena. I get people like this all the time. That, you know, so basically I call this the JBA arena because we're in an arena basically.
Okay.
That's how I see the world, period. Like we're in an arena full of crazy people, you know, and we're just trying to figure it out. You know, that's part of being a human.
I didn't expect that question, honestly, but
it's all right. So tell us some of your healing process.
My healing process? In what way though? What do you mean? My healing process.
What are some of the things you do, you know, to kind of meditate, you know, like when you're going through stuffs in your life, you know, once you had a bad day, a bad week, or, you know, something came up unexpectedly, especially the way we're living right now with so much stress of everything we're doing when it comes to work, you know, and you have kids. So that's an extra layer of stress, you know, maybe a good stress, but, you know, it is what it is. It comes with the package. So what's some of the things you do to kind of cope with all those?
Well, you know, as of late, I actually went back to therapy because sometimes the healer needs to be healed too, right?
Amen.
Yeah. So I've definitely, because I feel like I have been going through a transition and the world has been going through a transition. And sometimes when I feel like I got a good grips on things, you know, you in the back of your mind, or even just from wherever you hear what's going on in the world, even when you try to tap out of it, somehow it still goes into your mind, and then simultaneously working to balance my own personal life, my own struggles, my own things that I'm dealing with. And so I've had to go back to therapy so that I can be able to move through this very interesting time. And not only just the interesting time in the world, because I heavily believe that the outer world is just a reflection of our inner world, right? And so as my inner world is changing, I need the support, especially when my outer world is not yet reflecting back to me what's happening within. Right. So I need, like, there be days I'm spazzing out. Like I'm not an exception to the rule.
Correct.
Right?
You try to figure it out like everybody else.
Yeah, just like everybody else. But I do like to go into meditation. That's important to me. I love, like right now, I'm not necessarily observing Ramadan, but I am moving through the space of Ramadan. So I am going into prayer. You know what I'm saying? I have an app on my phone. Every time it's time to pray, I go into prayer. You know, just right now, my most important thing right now is just to hear from God. My most important thing is to feel oneness with God despite what is happening around me. And it's so crazy because every time I have going on, I'm like, God dang, like, I didn't realize how much.
Right. That's right. Listen,
but it's like, I find myself consumed in like that connection and communication with God, even if it's for like 1 minute, you know?
Right. Yeah. So would you say that, you know, some of the music you made are actual healing music?
Yeah, I like to, so I have an album called The Dopamine Collection, and the Dopamine Collection pretty much speaks to how I make music. I make music for you to feel. I make music so that you can connect back to the human experience. And so, like, I'm very intentional when I'm making music. It's not just, like, yeah, I have fun. I enjoy making music. But it's also, it's to do something to you. It's to pull some emotions out of you, to
as
tune
an artist,
you.
You know, artist is, placed on a platform to project. Yeah. And it's good to, have a...
I'm glad you brought that up.
Sound projection, have, a healthy practice, something with definition.
So when I first started this music journey, I'm glad you brought that up, for real. But when I first started this music journey, I feel, and I was just talking about this on Gino's podcast, I feel like something was actually protecting me, because in my younger days, I feel like I wanted this career so bad that I would have made really poor decisions in order to have what it looked like underneath or beyond the veil, or however you want to say it. It was like I just wanted that reality that was being projected onto us, right? What it seemed like this whatever, the lifestyle, the money, the fame, the notoriety. I wanted all of it, right?
Right, which is like most artists.
Which is like most artists, right? But then as I got older, because of life, I've been knocked down, right? Like where my head was up here and God knocked me right back to the bottom, to the very, very, very bottom, to make me realize, like, okay, you can climb up there, but don't get your head too big, because I'll knock you right back.
That's right.
To the floor.
That's right.
So like, I believe that was a great and important and necessary part of my journey, because I don't see things like that anymore. Like, yeah, it's cool to be able, like, me being in front of people, me like having fame at this point is because I'm spreading God's word, right? Because I have to help people to, or at least bring attention to people being, one, your authentic self, like, just be who you came here to be. It's not about trying to impress the next man or the next woman. It's really about, like, what are you called here to do? What's your purpose? And when you don't know your purpose, that's fine. You just go and you play and you show up. You do research and development.
Right.
But I really was not always this person that I am today. And I believe this is why the time is now, because I was being groomed for this moment. So all of these years of artist development was also research and development, was also me learning how to navigate life. And that's why I'm able to now sit here and be like, those things are cool, but they're not what I need. Like at one point, I thought that's what I needed.
It was the convenience. It's the convenience.
Yeah.
I know what you've been talking about. The access to the benefits and the access to the platform and being easily heard. But sometimes, like when we see someone up there, we don't know what effort.
Sacrifices.
Yeah, we don't know how much work it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That kind of reminds me of something that I told myself at a young age to keep me pushing this far. Is it's just another day on the job. I've always told myself that and that might be from being built up. Like I started out as a musician, so I had to practice the piano every day. Getting ready for recitals, performing at the church on the weekends. Always, having that consistency and that high volume of practice. When it came time to networking in the community as a producer, I was like, I noticed a lot of people want to make a hit. And they just want that hit. And I've been a part of hits, but one thing I realized is it takes more than one hit to have the career.
Yeah.
Right.
Longevity.
Yeah, the longevity, correct.
Yeah.
That longevity is, the hits have to be like pouring out. And even if we drop a hard drive and, we have like 100 hits, like unreleased. If that hard drive happens to crash, we have to remember the fun we had doing it, like aside from the pain, the fun that we had doing it. Like these are the thoughts that protect the house, like from a producer perspective.
Right.
Like, okay, if it crashes, we did it. We have to be able to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, and that it's another day on the job thing. It kind of humbled me in a huge way to where I'm sitting here at this podcast with you, and I have a long rap sheet of credentials. I've been a label mate. It's been great working with JBA also. I'm happy he has a JBA Arena now established. We're gonna be talking about
definitely, man. So and so tell me about tell me about this Find Your Remedy Festival. What is that about?
Okay, so Find Your Remedy is just like what it sounds like. It's aside from finding me there. You're going to find things that you didn't really realize that you needed, right? So you may have different art. Well, pretty much everyone who is contributing to this space they offer some type of healing, whether that be through music, whether that be through visual art, whether that be henna, massage therapy, the food, right? The food, the quality of people that are there, because I think people are necessary too. Your tribe, like a certain type of person that aligns with your core values, a person who is like-minded as well. Like that's important to be able to find those type of people. So Find Your Remedy is like creating that space so you could do exactly that. Find what your remedy is. And so we're getting ready to launch that. We have a tentative date set, but right now we're still like testing the water to see when it's the optimum time to release that date. Because we did release a date, but now it's like, I don't know. We're learning to be still. I know I'm learning to be still. I'm learning to be still and to wait for God to tell me this is the right move.
Right.
Go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's cool. So, what are some of the challenges that faced you during this process
of like finding remedy and,
right, finding remedy
in life?
Like, what's some of the challenges, and also tell us about the importance of that, of building that community structure for other people to come and hear their mind and find a scapegoat, a escape way.
Well, I'll just say this. Like, I felt like for a long time I've been the black sheep in my family. In terms of like my thought processes, they're very different from like the average person. I ask a lot of questions that people won't ask, or I ask questions that are challenging questions that make you think about stuff that's like, how dare you think that question, or how dare you not think what everyone else is thinking. And so I know, like, even when I was a young girl, I'm growing up in the church and I'm hearing things being preached and I'm like, that don't make sense. But I don't have nobody to talk to, right? Because everyone believes what's being said. Yeah. And here I am, like, I don't get it at 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? At 6 years old, I don't understand that. So it's like, find your remedy is like that place of like, I don't want to just call you like a black sheep, but it's the place of those people that think outwardly, who are not group thinkers whatsoever. They think for themselves. And this is like that place where you are invited to be just that, whoever you are. Yeah, even if it's
be yourself. Basically.
Be yourself. Right. Yeah, it's that place of be yourself. It's safe to be yourself here, right? And I'm saying safe to be yourself because you pose no harm to yourself and you don't pose no harm to anyone else.
Correct.
You're just thinking questions and thoughts and wanting to have experiences that are not the natural. Well, they are natural, rather. These are natural experiences that society has made seem an outcast or just, it's just, no, this is wrong, or demonized and things of that sort. The process, though, of like creating Find Your Remedy, or even just being me, has not been an easy process because I have come against a lot of walls. I feel like I spent almost most of my adult life trying to survive, trying to provide for my daughters, right? While simultaneously hearing the call and answering the call, or at least sometimes attempting to answer the call. And it just feels like there have been so many oppositions against me. But I'm also learning about seasons. And I feel like there were also times where I was moving out of season. It was the season for me to just sit down, or it was the season for me to research, or it was the, you know what I'm saying? It was the season to rest, and it wasn't time to move. So just learning how to, but that also comes with wanting to be on all the time. So learning how, like, I ain't always supposed to be on. Sometimes my season is now, you know?
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Learning how to navigate through all those challenges. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So you being a teacher, because it's one of those things I always, I have a hard time always, trying to understand. How is it that teachers, and this has been going on for centuries, in my opinion, they're the most underpaid, where they should be the highest paid. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of backwards on that spectrum. So you being a teacher, what do you think that needs to change? To, one, show teachers that they appreciate it, and two, pay teachers what they really deserve. Because you know what? I remember I used to work back then, even when I was a manager back then, and I used to have teachers come and do part-time. Mm-hmm. These are people with bachelor degrees. And I didn't have a bachelor degree, mm-hmm. but I was making more than them. So in my mind, I'm like, how does that happen? So you spend all your years going to school, all your time going to college, have a bachelor degree, just to come out and need a second job because you paid so much money for this college, you can't afford to live a normal life. Being at a profession that I think that is the most important, right? Because before you became a doctor, someone had to teach you. Before you became an astronaut, somebody had to teach you.
Right.
So if nobody's teaching you, how do you even get to where you're going? It's kind of like telling somebody a kid is more important than their parent, right? So somebody has to guide somebody. So you being the teacher, I'm just trying to understand from you. Maybe I'm missing something. I just want to know from you, what do you think about that situation, and what do you think could be done to fix the education system? I mean, let's just be honest about the education system. Also, right now we're not doing too good, right? I know we're in a different time, and kids is not learning on the scale they used to. If I'm not mistaken, right now we rank like bottom last in the globe when it comes to education. The reading, let's just forget about that, right? Reading and math.
I got educators in my family. Like my mom was a teacher, now she's a counselor, and my younger brother is a dean. I think he's a dean at a high school. And my dad, he did a lot of service on weekends in the church. So I know one thing about education is very technical. And being a teacher, being a teacher, and you're in a facility and you're teaching, they're telling you what to teach. They're telling teachers what to teach. They're giving them the curriculum and the books, the lesson plans, and they're just doing their job. But like she said, sometimes the therapist needs therapy sometimes, and sometimes the teachers sometimes teachers need to learn to don't neglect yourself. Like, even though you're giving them 1 + 1 is 2, humanity.
Right. I feel teachers, everybody's,
humanity
so
is the clutch.
I have the saying that, the only time you stop learning is when you're dead.
Right.
Okay. Some of the
every day you
comfortable teachers, they always have a relationship with their students that goes a little bit deeper than just, here's a book, read it, turn in your homework. But that all goes on community. Just their life lessons, aside from being a teacher, their life lessons that are not in the book. That's a part of.
It comes with the territory. So I tell my students all the time that what I'm here to teach you is far beyond what's in these books. What I am, they could attest for this, to this for me, that I always tell them that, yes, I teach you world our story, because I don't call it his story. I call it our story. And I told them, their parents, the same thing. I told the assistant principal the same thing. We teach world our story in here, because this is not his story anymore. This is our story. And I also say that too, because I'm teaching at a school where it's primarily white students, right? I'm not just teaching at Carroll City High School. I'm teaching something much deeper than this, because you're right. What the kid is learning and how they show up in the world is based on their parents at home, right? And what their parents at home are teaching them. But I realize that I'm teaching you not just world our story, but I'm teaching you how to greet me when you walk in my classroom. And I was already here first. I ain't saying hello to you. Hey, is you for real? Walk out that door and try it. I'm teaching you how to honor the next human being, right? Because just because. And you didn't know that? But let me teach you. Right? I'm teaching you how, we created a set of shared class values, right? Because we're all different in here, right? But we can find a common ground amongst all of us that we can say, okay, we may not agree on X, Y, Z, but in this room, we agree on A, B, C. And that's all we're going to focus on in this room. It will trickle out into the hallways and into your other classrooms and into your experiences out in the world, into your home, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't prefer to call myself a teacher. I prefer to call myself an educator. I feel like I have surpassed just being a teacher. I feel like I have even surpassed those walls, right? I am an educator, and all my existence is an educator, which is so funny because I ran from this So I did not want to do this. Like, this was just supposed to be me subbing, a little part-time thing. It was not ever supposed to become like a full-time situation, because you're right. I grew up just like you, watching my mom being an educator, watching my grandma being an educator, watching my dad. I have two dads. My bonus dad, he was an educator, retired. My aunt was an educator. So I'm watching all these people as a young girl in their classrooms, right? Or outside, when it comes to my dad, outside, watching him because he was a PE coach, and just like seeing them, not ever thinking like, this is who I'm going to become. Like, if anything, I'm like, first of all, I don't think I ever thought that thought of like, maybe one day. Like, heck no, that was not, like, all I saw was music. That's it. Music, and that's what they do. It was because of that grooming that I'm able to be the educator that I am today. This is how I know how to come into a room and command the room and get them to do what I need them to do without even having to yell, without even having to raise my voice, because I have watched so many people do this. And also, I have watched, even with it being not so much of a high-paying gig, they actually did pay better. They had steps. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was just watching without even really understanding what I was watching. But I'm not even gonna say who, but I have a relative who can literally go and teach today and make 90 grand because she's grandfathered in and get 90 grand a day. If I start teaching, or you go in there and you start teaching, you starting at 49, 50, like 100 grand. 100 grand. I used to say 75,000 as a minimum, but with all the things that's going on, see, the thing is, and you're right, a educator, a teacher, whatever you want to call them, they are not just that. They are the counselor. They are sometimes your mama, sometimes your daddy. They, like, for real, like, sometimes they are not getting that love from home. That love that they need, they get it from the teacher. Right? So they, like, it's that one teacher that really is the one that's causing them to wake up every single day and go, it's not the mama, it's not the daddy, it's that teacher that's making them, like, find value to life, that teacher is speaking into them every single day, that letting them say, okay, I could do this, I have a purpose, I have a reason, let me come here, because I don't see the reason here when I go home, when I leave the school, I don't see it.
Like, when someone really appreciates it, I think it goes beyond words, because when I know, like, when we say, like, every day a star is born, when I hear that, like, every day a star is born, that means the obligation of education is like a divine liability and such a healthy responsibility. Like, when it's taken up and it's held, held and accountability and it goes beyond words. It goes, it's lifestyle, it's culture, and it's health.
You said really something too, though. You talked about, like, how teachers have to take care of themselves and all that, and that's so true. Like, this is why I just took time off, because
I've seen teachers freaking cry. I used to have a teacher, like, she'll flip the podium, boom, on the regular, she'll flip the desk, and she'll go in her little office, and she would
it be the adults,
the community.
Yeah, and the community, and they're unrealistic. Like, you have not ever been in a classroom, like, at all. Like, not even probably even to observe your own child, right? But you want to tell me how I'm supposed to be running a classroom. But you can't even imagine what it's like to sit in the desk or in the shoes of an educator. But you have all of these things. And then, like, I feel like no one should ever be able to talk about education if you have not ever you gotta be able to at least have done, and not just for a second, for at least 1 to 3 years. 1 year is enough. 1 year will make you say, man, I'm going to continue or I'm not. And I feel like, honestly, the only people at this point who could really enjoy teaching are the ones who, they got a husband or a wife, right? Or they got some money stashed away that people already get. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only way at this point that you can enjoy it. Because it's like, if this is your livelihood,
support needs support. Teachers are support system. And that support system requires support. So, God is systematic. Like,
let's talk about it, because that's what it seems like is happening. And you asked what I think about the system. I don't know if the system, my thought is the system cannot possibly want teachers. There's no way possible, because you would move differently. I think it's very outdated. Y'all talked about the students. The students are different. Why are we still holding on to these old ways of thinking, existing, and modeling when these are totally different students? Whether you want to accept that reality or not, they're not the same.
You're right.
Like, I don't know if you know about private schools, but private schools, they do their own thing, especially in Florida.
Right.
Like the public schools, there's some sort of what's it called? There's a leading department. There's a unison, and they have practices that are across the state. Like,
Are you talking about the United States Department of Education?
Yeah, I'm talking about the education system that in general.
Okay.
I think if the more the funds are cut back and the more that employees are cut back, that means the less communications that we're going through as a society.
Things of that sort. What the Department of Education actually does is make education accessible to all. So that's really where the problem is. Because like I was looking,
they make it accessible to all.
It's so, for instance, they handle like the FAFSA, making sure like everybody has access to education with finances and money.
Yes.
But like it's the states that divvy out like the money. It's the states that divvy out curriculum and decide like what curriculum is going to be taught. That happens on a state and local level. But if you have certain states where like their state department is kind of handling like everything, you can actually cause it where certain people do not have access to proper education or the things that they need to be supported in being able to deliver quality education
like
across
those
the board.
Textbooks.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Textbooks being accessible to across all 50 states. Mm-hmm. When the cutbacks that we're discussing right now, when these cutbacks come into effect, those textbooks might be like available in only 10 states.
I'm seeing that, and that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm still, I don't want to use the word trying, but I am still assessing to understand the implications of what will happen from these changes.
So I guess the question is right now, because we're such a felon country when it comes to everything. Let's just be honest, right? I'm just trying to understand if this department is here to make sure that our kids are learning and we're getting a better education, and it's not happening, then what is the purpose of keep fighting for a system that is not working?
So just real quick, it says the Department of Education mission is to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness by fostering educational excellence and ensuring equal access. That's like the same concept of like now that equal access to education is being pulled back, because it also seems like they're trying to like privatize education, and that would make it where it's one man for himself kind of.
That would definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, because if let's just say I'm not sure what's going to even happen, like, because there are, like, I know in the state of Florida, we have programs like, oh Lord, now the program's slipping my mind. There are different scholarship programs available that you can use so that you can be able to go from this school in your neighborhood. Step It Up is one. Step It Up students.
So isn't that a good thing though? Isn't that a good thing?
Well, we don't know if those things are going to still be around. Will they still have that?
Because you said global achievement. When you say global achievement,
so global achievement,
the Department of Education makes it so that you have the same access as everyone else, so that you can compete on a global level, not just on the American level.
We're gonna be getting our asses whooped.
That's the point I'm making.
Ease up off for teaching those kids how to make robots.
That's the point I'm making. So
we don't even like. Honestly, if my phone screen cracks, like what I'm. Excuse me.
But that's the point I'm making. So if that is the case, just by the paragraph you just read to me, right? What department? What is that department there for? So we are failing on those stages, right? So it's not me telling you. She just read it to you, right? And we are failing country when it comes to reading and math, right? So if that is the case, who's getting paid those money and what are they doing with those money? So I don't know much on that, front to be like, like I'm an expert in it, but I do know common sense, right? If you're paying somebody to I don't know, maintenance your house, and you come there, your grass is, I don't know, it passed your roof at this point. I mean, you're gonna question this person. What have you been doing with the money I've been giving you to keep up with the grass cutting, right? So I understand that it's supposed to be sent back to the state, where the states could choose to say, hey, you know, your school's not doing so good. You know, you have to look up, you know, to do something else, or et cetera, et cetera. I get it. I'm just saying, you know, for me, I just think there's a lot of heresy there when it comes to that subject. Yeah. Right, because you know it's kind of like, all right, well, pick your poison, right?
But case scenario, what you just mentioned is a perfect case scenario. In that case scenario, would you say it's more healthy to just find another groundskeeper that's gonna actually show up to do the job, or to just say
groundskeeper?
Or to say forget it, I don't need to pay anyone for lawn.
You mean another maintenance person?
Yeah, another maintenance.
Absolutely. You find another. If somebody's not doing their job, you find somebody else who can do the job. And the Department of Education job is to make sure we're competing on the world stage, and we're not.
Mm-hmm. So you feel like do you feel like it's good riddance to it?
Not really. I feel like, you know, in some ways, yeah. And again, I would have rather have that fight in the state where teachers could, you know, negotiate their pay. Just like we was just talking about, like, you know, I could understand maybe that has to do with it too. You know, it's kind of hard for you to be like, oh, I'm going to go to work today and give it my all when I'm getting paid $45,000. You know, that's basically minimum wage in today's age.
I feel like teachers should just start their own schools.
I agree.
Because I feel like you have the playing field now. Like it's the ball is in teachers' court. It's in the educated court.
I never heard that, but that's
it's in your court now. Because like, I mean, a lot of people ain't gonna get it until they get it. But eventually you're gonna start seeing like your school is gonna suffer as a result of all the different things that's going. People are gonna start pulling their kids. This is the optimum time to start advertising what you do and get other people to, like, for instance, I do homeschool consultations. So you can holler at me if you want to homeschool your kid like I did my own. I got tired as my career was going. I was annoyed by teaching. That's why I left it the first time. That's why when you say, what do you think about the systems? Well, I worked for 2 different systems. And to me, it's the system. It doesn't change whether, I mean, granted, I didn't work in all systems in all 50 states, but I feel like I had enough experience to realize that it's still the same system, and the system is the problem. And so I got so annoyed by it that I was just like, I can't do this no more, and I left. And shortly after I left, I pulled my daughters and I homeschooled my daughters to the finish line. And I wish that and I know some people, I've spoken to some women who are like, well, it's not for me. And that's fine. Maybe it's not for everybody. But for the person who understands the power that homeschooling your child gives, or your heir gives you, you would homeschool your daughter or your son if you could, because it's basically you're putting the power back into your hand. And so maybe homeschooling is not the way, but teachers, educators, they could come together and they can create private schools. Right now, you can have a private school. You could maybe perhaps even have a charter school. I'm not really a big fan of the charter school model, but there are so many other models. There are co-ops. There are all kind of things. I think we're living in such an incredible time, even though it's very interesting. In some ways it's scary, but it's so much empowerment that can actually happen during this time. There is so much empowering that is happening at this time if you want to allow yourself to be empowered. But I will also say, though, this is a great conversation in terms of it's really making you have to look and see, okay, then what is actually happening on a federal level when it comes to these different departments? What actually happens on a state level? What actually happens on a local level? These are the things that we have to start exploring a little bit more, because who knows, we may have to start our own nations.
And I'm a big believer of, more local level, stuff more than letting the government run stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's where everything falls in the bubble. Everybody's trying to figure out where X, Y, and Z went, when really a lot of stuff could be controlled where you live locally, right? And the most important election, by the way, is local. I know everybody loves the general election. That's great, but fortunately your president can't help you today. You needed to vote for that person that lives down the block from you.
Yeah.
Right? So So tell me a little
Shout
bit.
out
So
to Pima Reed.
uh
No, I have to shout out Pima Reed, one of my mentors. She just ran for commissioner of
What's her name?
Myanmar. Pamela Reed.
Oh, Family Reed.
Pima Reed.
I heard of her.
Yeah, that's one of my mentors and big sister. She did not win, but just the fact that she took the courage to make that step and to run on a local level, I think that's admirable.
No, that's what's up. That's what's up. So, having that DIY mentality in our culture, what does that mean to you?
DIY mentality? I mean, I feel like that's my whole life, but can you elaborate more on DIY in our culture? What's that look like, mean? What do you mean?
No, I just want to know, like, what does that mean to you? It's basically,
what's that mean to me?
Right. What does it mean to you? Right.
Well, I mean, I kind of just spoke on it. Do it yourself.
Do it yourself,
when
right.
I did it myself. When I felt like the schools were failing my daughters, I got tired of that. And I took it upon myself to pull my daughters out of school, and I educated them myself. Granted, I am an educator, so I have the advantage than most people, right? I had worked in the system. I already knew what my daughters needed in order for them to get to the finish line. But that was me doing what I had to do, and because prior to that, I was really nervous. I kept thinking about homeschooling, but it was like I just couldn't conceptualize what is that? What does that look like? Until I just got fed up, and I was just like, I don't care what it looked like. I'm gonna figure this thing out today.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of it, of like me starting to do research and figuring out, it's not even that hard. I thought it was hard because the things that govern the kids in school don't govern the kids that are not in school, who are being homeschooled. Right. So it's just little things like that, and like I think it's just a matter, do it yourself. It's just a matter of like empowering yourself and taking on what you need to do. It's just empowering yourself. So even with me starting a business, starting gym culture, I started gym culture because I felt like I wasn't the young people. I could tell they needed something more than what was being received in the school system. Like their whole body, their whole self was not being served. Only, especially like where I'm at right now, it's just like it's all about academics, and of course like sports, and there's a few clubs here, but it's like, but this kid is in the bathroom smoking all day long, just blowing their brains out, smoking like crazy on vapes, right? Like in there, why? Because there's something deeper happening, but you only focused on this kid making sure that they turn in their assignment by 2:00 on Friday. You know what I'm saying? But the kid probably can't even function to get to Friday.
Yeah, vaping the Friday.
But he's vaping because he probably ready to kill his damn self. You know what I'm saying? He vaping because he when he go home, somebody is probably molesting him. He's you know what I'm saying? She's vaping because who knows? Like it's so much stuff, and it's like it's real deeper than this academic. Like, and so I felt like with gym culture, I have to do it myself to figure out how to reach these young people while they're young, while we could get them before they go out into this world and ruin their life. Right. So, yeah.
No, those are great points. And I'm always a believer of, when it comes to, those type of stuff, it's those are very important, especially for the Black community in our culture. Yeah. Right. Because a lot of us don't know that we could do a lot of stuff by ourselves. You have a lot of Black men, especially, our Black men who've been a victim to the system, who've gotten arrested for, minor crimes and spent years in prison. They can't find a job because of their backgrounds or so what, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't know how to open an LLC. They don't know that, hey, listen, it only takes me, I don't know, $500 just to start this business, right? So doing it yourself is the route, right? So, and also with saying that, going back to what you just said about the kids in the bathroom vaping and, doing all these stuff, again, starts from home. I have a saying that you don't raise your kid when they're 10 years old. Once they're 10, you already lost them. It's a wrap. What you're doing at this point, you're hoping that somebody else in society is going to save your kid for you. You already lost that child. Your time to raise that kid was the time they came out of the womb, right? When that kid started screaming out of his mind when he was 2 years old, you should have said, hey, who are you talking to? You let him keep on. Now he's 10, he's screaming at his teacher. Now he's 14. He's just vaping because he doesn't know how to cope with anything. And you as a parent didn't do your job, right? So there's a lot there, you know, and I feel like, you know, sometimes when you see these kids and they're going through these trauma and going through these, you know, anxiety, you know, I never even knew what these stuff were until I got older in my life.
Me too.
Like the first time I caught an anxiety attack, I was like, what the? They told me that was anxiety. I said, what the hell is that? I never knew about like mental disorder, none of these stuffs until my older adult life.
Yeah.
And I had to realize the reason that happened is because today is not yesterday.
Right.
Right? Is a lot of stuff, social media. You know, you're working much more hours. You know, you have to multitask more. You know, you have to deal with so much more than you had to back then, you know, which make it you know, sometimes impossible for you not to be a victim of this mess that's going on right now, right? Especially, so if you're raising a kid right now, I would say right now, it's harder to raise a kid as a parent than it was back then because you have so much to deal with.
Yeah.
You fight in social media, you fight in society, you fight in, you know, just name it, right?
Yeah.
And the new parents that's growing up now, unfortunately, they're growing up in this time where you know, you have an average father sit there, he's smoking weed with his son. His son's 14 years old. I'm assuming you're not expecting him to be a doctor, right? So you have the mom's twerking with their daughters, you know, at, I don't know, 12, whatever age they are.
Yeah, and these are YouTube creators.
You know, so it's okay to have fun. It's okay to be friends with your kids, but you have to let your kids know that you are the parent. There is a line.
Oh my God, there is a line.
There's a line. I might have fun with you, but if you ask me to smoke weed with you, I might punch you in the face first. If you're going to do it, you're going to go do it with your friends, not me. And I might still punch you in the face. Right? But as a parent, you have to have boundaries, right? Like, because, you know, a lot of people complain, and then when your kid get killed or something happens, you know, they're going to blame you as the parent.
Yeah.
Which they should, right? But then again, you know, the flip side of that is if you tell your kid, hey, we're going to dinner, you know, we're going to a, you know, I don't know, a casual restaurant or whatnot, and he shows up with slippers in his feet, his pants on his ass, you know, looking like he's about to go to sleep with pajamas on.
Yeah.
You're going to let him sit on that table, or you're going to say, man, get your ass up, get the hell out of here. Tough love sometimes is the good love. Like I was saying, it starts from home. You know, if you teach your kid at an early age, you know how to be a young man, how to, you know, teach your kid how to change a motor oil, how to cut the grass, you know, how to use a drill, you know, basic stuff as a parent, as a dad, you know, and I get it, because, you know, now the way kids are raised now, especially the females, you know, I'm independent, I don't need a man, and then, you know, those men just walk around switching places. Now they want to be the women, you know, so we have a lot going on, and I know one of the biggest thing we face in the Black community is that the absence of fatherhood in the house. Yeah. And sometimes we do have fathers in the house. They're just not. They're
still not present.
They're just not a father.
Yeah.
You know, they're just a homie. You know, because, you know, when it comes to, I always tell people all the time, anybody can have a baby. That don't make you a dad. Right. You call a sperm donor.
Yep.
That don't make you a dad. You know, so you got to do your job as a dad. You got to do your job as a mom. And this is why your kid could, you know, go to a foster home and they'll be raised better than if they were with you, right? Because it doesn't matter if you two guys, you know, exchange fluid. That doesn't mean that you are great parents.
Right.
So you still have your obligation to make sure that that kid you brought to the world is not going to suffer because of you, right? And I get it. Stuff happens. Everybody goes through stuff. And, you know, and again, if you don't give tough love as a parent, you know, I just think you're just waiting for the ultimate downfall because, you don't want your kid to be afraid of you. People have to know how to balance it, right? Balance it like, you know, even with me and my kids, right? Like, it's got to be a balance. You don't want them to be afraid of you where they can't speak to you and say, hey, mom, you know what, this happened. Dad is, you know, this person's molesting me. Or, hey, dad, this happened. You know, I'm getting bullied in school. Yeah. That's also being a bad parent. right? Because when your kid go commit suicide, you're gonna find out, oh, your kid was getting bullied and you didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how did this happen?
Well, they couldn't talk to you.
They couldn't talk to you,
Yeah.
right? So it's a balance, and once you have that good balance, and again, stuff is gonna happen out the blue because sometimes stuff happens. But if you do everything you can in your power as a parent, your kid has a way better chance of surviving in society
Facts.
than if you wasn't being a good parent. So you know that DIY stuff is directly connected to your upbringing, because if you wasn't hands-on when you was growing up, by the time you get 22 years old and 25 years old, you move in with your woman and she's like, oh, this broke. Oh, but you don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't have money, so she's gonna have to pay to get it fixed.
Yeah.
She's gonna start feeling like, well, what are we doing? Then she's gonna find a man who could fix it. Then we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So somebody's gonna get the short end of the stick, because at the end of the day, all women have the same thing in common when it comes to having a man around. That man is there for security, right? That man is there for something, because then the woman could just be by herself. What's the other reason?
Basically.
Right?
Yep.
But you mean to tell me, bro, you don't know how to use a drill? So our grass is all the way up, so you can't buy a lawnmower? Like, if your girl broke down in the middle of the road, you don't know how to change the tire with her? Like, what are we doing? Right? And so at that point, you losing that manhood conversation. And I know nowadays a lot of men's like, I stand on business. Oh, I'm the man. I'd be like, bro, you got no clue. You're in the wrong boat. You're gonna keep coming home and finding new pair of shoes in your living room. That's just the way it works.
I do want to say though, when a young person is 10 or older, all is not lost. It's just, it becomes now critical.
Correct.
Right. They have to be put
You're
intentionally.
doing damage control.
Yeah. Because you can still catch them. That's why, like gym culture, we start at 13 to 18. Because you can still get them in that.
Still be molded.
They can still be molded. In fact, that's like a amazing time to begin to mold them. But you are right, because they say between ages 0 and 7 is when you are in theta state, right? Which is the state that you have right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up, which is an imaginary state. And
That's
so
right.
from 0 to 7, young people are in a state of imaginary world, and it's they're easily programmed during this time. So they are learning what dad and mom is saying that they are, what the teacher is saying that they are, what the world is saying. Yeah. And that is that is also a very, in fact, that is the most impressionable of all time, because you're like, everything that we are basically growing from is usually what we were taught between 0 and 7.
If the child is around domestics at that age,
That's right.
the child might not it might not be a violent person, but that child will be very passive in certain
That child has a more likelihood of developing those type of habits because they've been accustomed to it for so long.
Or normalizing. Normalizing it. Maybe not themselves becoming it, but they normalize that type of behavior because it's all that they saw from those little very critical. So it's all critical. It's all critical. I just wanted to point out, like, no, all is not lost. It's just it does become 10 times more critical, and it becomes even harder. I even know in my own, like, as I started changing.
I think at that time, instead of just teaching them the things, we have to explain why we're teaching it to them at that age. Because at 0 to 7, you could just teach it to them.
That's what I was going to say.
After that, we have to, from 10 to 13, like 13 to 18, we're going to tell them why we want them to dress
and
nice.
Even still,
why do we want you to brush your hair every day?
It's a lot of resistance. Because I know, like, with me personally, as I start, my way of existing and thinking and my beliefs, they're very different from what I was raised. And so as I started changing, my lifestyle started changing, the food that I eat changed. In the midst of my daughters being 13 and 14 years old, that wasn't making sense. And it was like so much resistance.
They're 1 year apart?
Yeah, mine's are 10 months apart.
10 months apart?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was, I guess.
That's
Not that bad. Mine's is 22 years apart.
22?
Yeah, you did.
Wow.
My first one and my last one.
They're obligated to, like, with you being 1 year apart, it's challenging. But when you get it good, it's beautiful.
I liked it because, you know, I mean, that wasn't like the plan, but it definitely made it where they're like best friends.
Yeah.
They literally left at the same. I mean, I still out. There's still my responsibility, and they're still depending on me. But like they
have a partnership.
They completed at the same time. Yeah.
And it's a close partnership because of the years, the ages. There's a similarity there. With the 22 years apart, that's like so much distance.
Yeah, it's distance. You know, I always
gonna
joke
be a
with
lot
my
of,
daughter. I
like,
say, you
respect.
realize when your sister's 22, you're going to be 44. I'm like it happened.
But now she has a support system.
She has a support system.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, the guidance and responsibility that's going to be there for them that's very deep. That runs so deep, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who has a sibling that's that spread apart. So like it's like, you know, being able to go to a brother that's 20
that's 20 years older than
that's
you.
a lot of
Well,
experience.
that's a good thing. You know, you have
that's-
somebody other than your parents. You know, even if I was not to be here, and God, you know, if God has other plans, you know, they have somebody with experience that's able to guide them the right way, at least the way that I guided her.
Yeah, and exactly. And with you, let's speak life that you are here. When I don't want to go talk to dad or mom, I could go talk to her.
That's
or,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's so much better.
That's right.
It's kind of cool, right?
And that's and again, that's what it's all about. Because you know when you know, so I say this because I actually went through those stages, and that's why I always explain to people the importance of having that relationship with your kid and make your kid understand at an early age. You know, you don't want to scare them. You want to make them understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
You know, what I learned back then is that, you know, when I was growing up, our parents, okay, even from we probably like closer to the same age. Our punishment was belts. Mm-hmm. Get your ass kicked.
Extension cord and all that.
Extension cord. The first shit, boy. I was doing the Matrix before Matrix exists. when those pot was coming my way. Try to buck those pots, right? Like whatever was close, boy, the old girl was coming at it. Right, so what I did and what most of us did when we was younger, we're like, okay, damn, we got caught doing this, so we're gonna do it this way then. And that's where you lost as the parent, because you scared me.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me why I shouldn't do that. Instead, you just want me.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand why you didn't want me to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's the importance of having that relationship with your child, because then you're gonna miss all of that. You're gonna leave it up to somebody else. You know, but you know, so when I found out, okay, I was gonna get hit with a belt, I put on about 3 clothes.
You're right. I remember them days. Heck yeah.
Right? Like goddamn, boy, she be like, why you got all those clothes on? Come here, take them shit off.
Summertime, we got a hoodie on.
Oh my God.
You know you about to get your ass kicked, right?
You took it all the way back.
But these kids in this generation, you cannot raise your kid the same way. We're not living in those times anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those days are gone. This is the time now you actually have to be more, you know, of a partner with your kid than anything else, because now you're fighting the system, you're fighting depression, you're fighting everything. This kid's gonna go to school. Oh my
That's
God,
why
I got a
some
mark.
parents actually smoke weed with their kids. Now think about it.
You said that's why parents should smoke weed with
Some
their
of them are
kids?
smoking weed with their kids because they say they'd rather their kid do it with them
I
than
was
to
gonna
go do it on the
say,
street.
I don't want you at a young age to smoke at all. But if you were to smoke, I'd rather you come to me and be honest with me about it than for you to go and, I don't know, Bob is telling you to smoke, and so now you don't know where Bob got it from. It could be like something really, really bad. I'd rather you have that experience with me, but also you need to wait too, right? You need to wait, and you need the same thing what you're saying. You need to wait because, you know what I'm saying, X, Y, Z.
Yeah, let your mind
Because
develop
like
and
cause the same reason. Like I have students, they like already getting tattoos, and I'm like, bro, wait, like, you know what I'm saying? Wait, you don't have like, but the mom or the dad's taking them, and I'm like, how do you feel about this, Miss Rim? I don't. That's what they call me, Miss Rim. I don't like that, because like, what do you have to look forward to? You know, just wait a second.
Yeah. So for me, if you want to smoke, and you need to be out my house, and then you also need to own businesses.
I feel that.
You also need to be in the position that you're okay without me.
Yeah. Facts.
You're not coming to my house for me to smoke weed with you, my man.
No, I feel
We're
that.
not playing that game.
I'm just saying though, I don't want you to go if you feeling that it's that, I don't know, detrimental, that you need to go and you need to smoke. I would much rather be with me than you go and smoke it, because at the end of the day, even if you say that, if he could get away with it and you not find out, you better believe he's finna go smoke.
I'm gonna find out. I'm not gonna trip about it, but I'm not doing it with you.
I get
right?
that.
So I'm not condoning
what
my
you
son.
are saying. Yeah, I get that.
I'm not condoning my son living in my house at 24 years old. You ain't working, and we're gonna smoke weed.
Nah.
That's the definition of a bad parent.
No, and that no. No,
we're not doing that.
At 24, you shouldn't be smoking and
You'll be
and not having no job.
You'll be surprised. A lot of kids nowadays, that's what happens, right? So, and again, hopefully you raise your kid where they don't have to find that route. Because let's just be honest here. Let me tell people all the time, there are levels to this. Now, anybody could smoke. You can do whatever you want. But in America, as black men, when you go around smelling like weed, or you come around, looking like you just smoke weed, we all know the results. We're not going to kid ourselves.
Things are going to be more difficult. I think
not only is it going to be more difficult, if you get pulled over smoking weed as a black man, and a white man get pulled over smoking weed as a white man, we get two different results. One of them might get a warning. Hey, listen, Bob, don't smoke while you drive, Bob. And one of us might go to jail. And it's probably going to be the black man. So you want to set your kids up to make sure they're not getting themselves in situations.
Facts.
Just like, when I watch people all the time, like I see kids out there that just be disrespecting the police officers. Oh, fuck the cop, fuck these crackers, fuck this. Again, again, bad parenting. Where did your kid get this from? You should teach your kid to be a good citizen. So this is how a traffic stop becomes to you burying your child. It doesn't matter if the cop was wrong. We all gonna know he was wrong. It doesn't matter if he was racist. Your kid is dead. If you could go back, would you tell your kid, hey, it's just a freaking traffic ticket. Settle down. We'll fight it in court. But I want to see you back home alive.
Yeah.
You want your kid to have a tussle with a police officer for a traffic stop and he lose his life? How did you win?
Yeah.
So our priorities at the end of the day is fucked up.
That's what I be telling my my female students all the time. Like, listen, y'all need to stop talking. Like when they get in trouble with anyone, actually, even like your admin, stop talking. Because one, you're underage, right? You're underage. Two, you need to wait for your mom or your dad or somebody to come and speak on your behalf, because all you're doing is digging yourself in a deeper hole. So stop talking. Like, that has been like the conversation I've been having with them all year long. Be quiet. If anything, let me come talk for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be quiet though. Don't say nothing.
Back then, if we was to do that in school back then, who would whip our ass? The teacher.
Yeah, those are old school days.
Then the parent would show up to your school with
and
a
do
belt,
the same thing.
Whoop your ass again in front of everybody.
But that's when it was more of a village.
Well, but listen, this is why the kids nowadays they don't respect anybody.
Yep.
You can imagine these kids in school, they cursing out their principals, their teachers. Actually, I was just watching the news. These two kids got arrested. They jumped the teacher. I don't know if they're two brothers. They jumped. It's on the news this morning. I was watching two young black men. They're like 14 years old. Yeah, I think it happened in New Orleans, one of those schools around. And again, and when I look at these young kids, and I'm like, again,
who did they jump?
They teacher.
I know, but it doesn't make it right. But is it a female or a male?
It was a male.
A black guy?
A black guy.
Wow. Old black guy.
He's a younger black guy.
Whoa.
But they were fighting a teacher.
But this is what I mean. Like, what is this? So I watched these two young kids in the news, and of course I'm like, oh gosh, they're gonna be black.
You know, some educators be strapped.
You know, two young kids, they look like they're 14.
Educators be ready to fuck them kids up.
They look like they're 14, 13-year-old, you know.
I'm sorry. Even here cracking up.
Yeah.
But I will say, I would love to know what happened, because sometimes,
I could
not
probably
that
put
that's
it up.
right. I'm curious, because sometimes teachers actually do provoke and cause. Now, I'm pretty sure that's not what happened here. I don't know. But there are times where teachers actually provoke that type of behavior.
Yeah, but teachers should never provoke a kid enough for them to want to have a fight. Let them jump.
They exist.
To jump a teacher?
There are teachers who exist who bring their problems to work.
I agree, but jumping them?
I'm not condoning nothing,
Hey,
right?
those kids got
But I'm just saying, I'm telling you the reality that there are times where teachers do provoke certain behavior.
I agree.
Like I've had a teacher provoke me as a young person and want to knock their ass out.
Were the two students related to each other?
Two students?
Yeah, were they?
I think they was related. They look like brothers, actually.
Okay, because I'm like, that's a lot of support to jump a teacher. I've seen plenty of teacher-student fights, but for a teacher to get jumped, the kids got backup.
Oh my God!
Like kids got a serious support.
I'm wondering what happened though. Like why did that happen? It's not okay.
It's not okay. And again, you know, I try to preach people all the time, man. Listen, you know, who's getting the short end of this stick? So these kids is 13 years old already with a record.
They can have a juvenile record. They're not gonna be trial as adults.
No, they're not gonna be trial as adult, but a juvenile record is a juvenile
still
record.
not good, yeah.
This is the route, and this is the route that you're already setting for these kids, or these kids already setting for themselves.
For themselves.
They mean said they're gonna have to go to some anger management, but they're probably not gonna get.
Did you pull it up?
I'm still looking for it, but I'm just saying, you know, at the end of the day, those stuff happens all across. You know, I get it, but I was like, it's just the same thing when people talking about. When we talk about murder, we talk about crimes. That's people like, oh, white people commit more crimes than black people.
The black people was more stereotypical crimes, like you said, driving while smoking weed type.
But
stuff.
are we defending white people, or are we talking about black people?
Shooting somebody who stole from them type stuff.
This is the thing. We only 11% of the population, right?
White people is like shooting up like jobs type. The white people are doing more of those kind of crimes. Like
Correct.
Walking in
And
a church or supermarkets and mass.
Right. Mental disorder crimes.
Yeah, and
Right.
also money crimes.
Some money crimes.
So
Yeah, that's another one.
We just do dumb crimes. Like kill a brother because he stole a cigarette.
Yeah.
Kill your op because you thought that was your op, but really it was your cousin. You found out that wasn't your op. He was just driving a car that looks like your
Yeah,
op.
but losing the job and then killing the wife and kids.
Shot two little girls that's just playing in the park. Just wanted to do a drive-by. We're in a losing situation. And I tell people all the time, don't fight what's a reality. Like I don't want to sit here because I'm from these places that people talk about. You can't tell me about the hood. I've been there, I've faced it, and I would never want anybody else to go through what I went through. If you're not willing to acknowledge there's a problem, where do you start to fix it? Right? It's like people always want to bring in the white man when you talk about a black issue. Bro, I guarantee you 100% the white man is not at home today worrying about what the fuck the black man doing today. They're just not. So if we're not worrying about what we're doing, everything's a business. Everything's there for somebody to capitalize on, except for the people who actually need it. Right? I'll give you an example, right? Everything that we do as a black culture, it gets hijacked. Even if it was a good cause, it gets hijacked, okay? For example, when we had the George Floyd killing of that police who sat on this man's neck, I don't know, for 10 days, all right? That was supposed to be our cause. It was supposed to be our march. It got hijacked. Then it turned into an LGBTQ. It turned into, that's when all this DI shit started, right? It had nothing to do with us. Who you think benefited from all of those stuff, all of those programs? Not black people, because these people are all full of shit. Okay?
Yeah.
None of those monies went to our actual community. Okay, so if you're telling me that we have a cause, for me, if we're doing a movement and I'm pissed the fuck off, I don't want to see a white soul in this protest. Period. This is not about you. This is not your day. I appreciate that you feel like I feel, but stay away today.
Yeah, but it was
not today.
Well, I
but
don't
this
feel
is where
like...
we lose, because they get in and they tap in, and then we lose the conversation. We lose the reason that we was even in this fight, because this is our fight. This fight, if you watch the march and all the protests, all the vandalism that was going on, who you think started this? Black people? We didn't start that, but they're gonna show the black people in the news. They're not gonna show you who set the fire, right? So when we accept those stuff, we're in a losing conversation. If I'm pissed off, bro, it's like if I had a fight with you today, and you killed my brother, you really think that I want somebody in your family today to come to me and tell me how we're going to solve this issue? It's not gonna go good for you. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like we always let our agenda get hijacked. When we say something, we're not serious about it, no one's going to take you serious.
I think though that this DEI situation though is it is for us to take note of and to pay close attention to. And the only reason for me, like I was saying earlier, for me it's important because, okay, you're right. These people, all they're doing right now is showing their true colors. That's it. That's all they're doing. But that's fine. That's what you need to do. That's what I prefer. I prefer people to show me who they are so I know who I'm dealing with. And at this point, when I know the power of my dollar, when I know that my dollar is actually an extension of me, is currency. I'm energy. Energy is currency. Currency is my dollar. I'm no longer going to exchange that currency. And it doesn't really matter at this point whether you white, black, orange, yellow, gold, a dog, a cat.
Right.
If you do not value me, God bless you, then I am not, I can no longer exchange currency with you anymore. I think this is where like the whole value system is coming back to the forefront, which what I was talking about earlier about teachers and teachers not knowing what their values are. Like we have to get to a point where we begin to understand our value, the value of my life, right? The value of my total existence is worth something. And so if I'm going to do any type of exchange with anyone, you must be in alignment with my core values, right? My core values are love. My core values are respect. My core values are equity, right? Inclusion. All these things are important to me. I'm going to always be 100 about the fact, like gym culture, for instance, it exists because the reality is many people that come from quote unquote marginalized communities, we'll just call it what it is, black people, right? And even Spanish people, we oftentimes get the shorter end of the stick. And I'm going to even just narrow it down all the way to black people, right? Because I could think of times where Cubans or some type of Spanish group will come here and they're handed everything. Right?
It still happens.
And it still happens. But when you are a person that's black, or you could be a Haitian person, you come and you don't get that same level. Yeah, that's the impact. They may most likely send you back. And if you do get the opportunity of staying here, it don't come with no extra house and no Medicaid and no this and or that. And so like that's the reality of the situation, which is why like gym culture and organizations like ourselves, we do put the focus on certain groups because we want to make sure that certain groups have access and know how to use the access to this information that they have, right? But at the end of the day, though, I'm at a place of it's about you being able to see my value, see what I bring to the table. If you cannot see that, just my life alone is that value. If you cannot see that, then we cannot partner. I don't care if you used to be a friend of mine, and we just think we not seeing that way no more, cousin, auntie, grandma, whatever. That's just where I'm at now. Like, our values have to align in order for us to exchange time, in order for us to exchange energy, in order for us to exchange money, because all these things are currency and all these things matter.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So that's the thing. If we don't understand our core value as a culture, we're not going to be able to move forward. So the same thing you're saying. It's like even way back then, right? Cubans come is a dry, wet foot, policy, so you get to stay. Haitians, I don't know, we have an earthquake, thousands of people died, we sending your ass back.
Yeah.
So for me, if you're gonna deport every fucking body. Let's do it. I don't have sympathy for anybody else who's getting deported because they never let us stay, right? And let alone when people do come down here, they get treated better than the people who's down here.
Residents.
You know, the black
The
African,
citizens.
you know, the black citizens that's in America that actually built the country, by the way, right? They get treated, you know, worse, right? All these so-called, you know, millions of dollars we find out of the gate because we feel so sorry about the immigrants. Oh, really? So nobody feels sorry about the black. So we're in 2025 and we can still call a community a hood or project. That is insane. We could still have a welfare system while in the same breath have billions and trillions of dollars to send to people to drop bombs, for supporting illegal immigrants, for doing whatever the hell you want to do, but take care of the people who actually built this shit. So as a black culture, what I'm saying is we're not going to be able to move forward unless we get serious. And the only way we get serious is we have to find leaders that's not willing to sell you out.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, what leader do we have in the black community? The answer is zero. Everybody who comes get their check, get their book, and they're like, oh, yep, I thought, but no. Listen, if these guys are serious, don't talk to me about anything. If I have to sit with you and you told me all this money in DI went to what? Where did it go? Let's break it down. It went to a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with black people.
White women.
White women cause, LGBTQ plus double H, whatever the hell it is, right? And those people deserve, you know, to be taken care of also.
I think everyone deserves.
And everybody deserves to be taken care of, right?
To have a playing field.
To have an even playing field.
Even access.
But why is it that we always get the lowest bottom of the pile? But let's be honest, most of the time we don't even get anything, right? So until we get serious and say, you know what, this is what, you know, the number one consumer of bullshit in America is black people. We're the only one who walk around with a brand that we can't pronounce but don't own a car. Just be honest about it. Right? Yeah. So if we're not willing to support your business that you just open down the street, because it's easier said than done. I see this all the time. I had a guy one time came to my restaurant and he came and he put a black-owned business sign on my door and I had to go chase him down. I'm like, my man, take this off my door. He's like, no, wow, brother. You're a black business owner. You should be happy that you know you're black. I said, my man, I've been black all of my life. And I also owned the restaurant for 14 years without that sign on my door. I asked him, I said, how many black businesses did you go and support this morning? Did you stop to any businesses that was not a black business this morning? Oh, yeah. I mean, no. Did you went and do gas this morning? Is that gas station owned by a black person? Did you go to Walmart this morning? Because you're looking for something that might be in your community, but you like it's too expensive. You're going to go to Walmart. You're not going to support Auntie Shay Shay down the block. Did you go get some grits and eggs this morning down the street from your house? The answer is no. You're getting paid to do what you do. Don't come fuck with my business. I might get a racist man here today and change his mind. He might come in shit, damn, I hate black people, but god damn it, this food is fucking good, Bobby. I'm running a business. I'm not running a emotional campaign.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you're not going to be true to what you're saying, don't come trying to put me out of business and come bullshit with me.